Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video with the adventures of the memory makers. Today we're out here in our private campsite in our woods, and the weather is just phenomenal for Memorial Day weekend in southern Indiana. So we're spending the weekend up here in the woods and enjoying the nice weather, and just wanted to share something with all of the tent room owners out there. So if you're like us, you've got an ARB awning or an Ironman awning, or we've got a Napa Maxi Track on the other side of the camper over there, and they're all essentially very similar to each other, and they all share the one same critical flaw or weakest link, from one model to another. And if you're like us, then you've probably had this happen to you at least once before. And what that is when you bend one of these horizontal poles that goes from the camper out to the outside edge. And when that happens, yeah, it doesn't take a whole lot to make that happen, to be honest with you, because the tolerance for the inside tube to slide in this outside tube is really pretty tight. So it doesn't take much downward deflection of this arm in order to bend it to the point where you can no longer push it back inside this outside tube when you go to put your awning back up. It happened to us up in northern Michigan. We'd ridden out a gale storm with crazy winds and really hard rain. And I had some additional tie downs on this to help hold it down because I was afraid of the wind going over the top and creating a lift and lifting us up. So I'd actually tied it down, and it weathered the storm really well. We dropped the one corner, and the rain shed off the roof for the most part. But when we went to put everything back up to come home, we just could not get that tube to slide in. So I just went ahead and pulled it out, put everything back in, and addressed it when I got home. And looking at the tube, it was not bent that much. And I tried and tried to get it straightened back out to where it would slide back in that tube. But it's a really tight fit, really close tolerance on the two tubes, the inner and the outer. And if you bend it much at all, it just will not go back in. And I've seen numerous posts from other people that have had similar issues with bending those tubes. So I know that this is a problem. And after seeing how the system works, especially in storms and rain, I can understand why a little better. And in fact, if you have the Annex room or the Ironman room attached to your awning, on the ARB anyway, this is 35 pounds. And a big portion of that is actually hanging right now. The weight of that is hanging on these two horizontal arms. And you can even see that there's a little bit of a downward sag just from the weight of this right now. So my fix for this was really simple, um, and super simple to actually make. And what I did was I got two of these long arm paint poles at Lowe's. They were the best place to get them here locally. And what I did was I modified it and used a 3/4 inch plumbing tee. It's a CPVC tee, and I'll share a link to that in the description. But what I did was I modified that tee and attached it to this paint pole so it physically snaps on to the inner tube right here at the joint where the two slide together at. And then all I do is extend that down to the ground and put a little upward pressure on it. You hear that actually snap, and you can see it hanging right there. It snaps on that tight. And then all I do is extend this down to the ground and put a little upward pressure on it and lock my pole in place. And now no more downward bowing of my horizontal arm right here. And if anytime that we have the room attached now, I put both these on, one on each side, and it just really strengthens this up. And it's easy to bend these as if someone was coming out of the room and got their foot caught down here in the floor and pulled the wall. That downward force would bend that arm as well. So this right here is a super simple setup to add rigidity to this arm. And like I said, if we're going to be riding out storms, I'll put another tie down from this point right here out just to help hold everything down better. But let me show you real quickly how simple this is to make. Got a couple of poles here. I was actually making these for a fellow owner who just lives up the road from us. So we're going to start here with our brand new pole. And this is what it looks like when you get it. And you can see it's got a threaded end in the end because these are designed to thread onto like a paint roller stick. So what we're going to do is cut that off. And I used my miter saw to do that with. So we come up with this nice flushed end right there. And then we'll take our CPVC Tee. And the one thing about this is some brands are different than others. If you can look inside that, you'll see a little shoulder down inside there. And in some brands, this was made by Charlotte Pipe, and I got this at Home Depot. But some brands have a much larger shoulder on the inside to stop your pipe on the inside. You want to go with the one that has the really small shoulder. And the reason for that is it allows it to snap onto that horizontal tube much better. So what I do is I make a mark just above the center point, if you're looking at horizontal across the hole here. So I just make a mark and connect those two right there. And then I lay these down, and I happen to have a bandsaw in my shop, so I lay that down and just trim that off. So you can see where the line's at right there. I lay that down and just buzz right along through there and trim that off. So you can see it's just a little bit above the halfway point of that circle. And what that does is it allows it to snap on, like you saw there on ours, to that horizontal tube. So I take my piece that I've got cut off, and then all I'm going to do, I would paint mine first. You can see ours are silver to match. What we're going to do is just slip that on there and just tap that down until it comes down flush to the shoulder on the inside. And then I added just a simple sheet metal screw to ours to hold that all in place. And that's it. It's a very simple fix, and it works really well. And like I said, I'll put the links to the long arm that I use and to the CPVC Tee, and then just two small 1/2 inch number 8 sheet metal screws, and you're set and running. So you can see here on ours, I painted it silver to match. It really looks almost like it's factory. I got one single stainless steel sheet metal screw right here in the side, and it makes a very rigid arm now. So you don't have to worry about bending that arm down if you get caught in the wind or in the rain. And like I said, anytime that we have the room attached to our awning, these poles go up, because that weight pulling down on these arms, it's just an accident waiting to happen. And there for a while, the replacement inner tube was actually kind of hard to get. I think it's gotten a little better now with the supply chain loosening up, but there's no reason to bend one, and it's as simple as adding this support pole to it. So hopefully, if you have an awning like this, Ironman, ARB, Napa Maxi Track, the Thule, any of those, hopefully something like this can help save you from bending your inner tube on your horizontal arm. And if you haven't seen our other video on the modification that we did on the inside, where we make our ARB room actually attached to our camper, I'm going to add a link to that to the description as well, because that single modification right there has just totally changed how we use this room. We absolutely love our room because it seals up tight to the camper now. So if you haven't seen that, please check that out, and hopefully that gives you an idea of something that you can do with yours as well. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this helps everyone out, and happy camping.